Holy hell, it's Wednesday, it's hump day, and we're back with another episode. Go find yourself. We got some exciting stuff in store for you today. We are talking about a ton of stuff. Kiara, what is going on? What happened in the last 24 hours that we're talking about?
We've got to talk about Avalanche and Avalanche and Avalanche. Avalanche is blowing up. They have their token unlocked. They have new partnerships. It's a pretty big deal. We're going to dive into that. But there are other big launches coming up too, like Uniswap V4 and Trader Joe's shoe. We're going to talk about something a little bit older too, which is Trader Joe actually being in a lawsuit about the name Trader Joe. I've been waiting for that news, but I think it happened while I was away. So I just need to touch on it. And then we're going to talk about airdrops for a little bit. We're going to talk about the XRP and Flare. We're going to talk about Filecoin, and we're going to talk about the Moonwalk app. Have you dealt with the Moonwalk app yet?
I have not dealt.
All right. And then ETH hit 3K. So we're going to go into that.
No way.
Yeah, way.
3K. All right, let's freaking go. All right, we're back. And reminder, we're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. But so we do this news thing, and we're gonna try something new that I think is going to be pretty cool. So for those of you that watch on a consistent basis, please don't be shy, especially our degen roundtable friends.
Now let us know if you like it or not.
Yeah, let us know if you think it adds value or just is more confusing. So anyways, I will start with the first one. We're talking about
Avalanche
gearing up for a token unlock. So I'll give you the first kind of summary of this. Avalanche is preparing for a notable token unlock on February 22nd with about 9.54 million tokens, or 2.6% of its total supply, set to be released. The event has sparked discussions regarding its potential impact on AVAX's market value. Contrary to the common belief that token unlocks lead to price drops due to increased supply, AVAX's history suggests a possible bullish reaction. Following the last unlock, AVAX's price not only remained stable, but actually saw significant gains, raising expectations for a similar outcome this time around. Additionally, AVAX whales have been actively accumulating more tokens still, indicating strong confidence in the asset's future performance. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's hard to read because the token unlock is so huge with 9.54 million tokens, which is, as you said, 2.6% of the total supply. It's just so big that I can't see it not having a price drop. But at the same time, they have all of these new partnerships. They have new utility. They have other, the subnets have really been taking off and doing really well in the last couple of years. So maybe they're diversified enough that the token unlaunch isn't going to hit them that way.
Maybe. I think this is actually a really good case study in some ways. Like, we can look back on Avalanche. Now, my bias, I'll admit my bias. I am a fairly big Avalanche fan. I'm not a maxi, but I do really like Avalanche, and I do.
Are you not a maxi?
No, I don't think I'm in anything maxi. But I do like Avalanche. I think it has definitely a strong fit in the market. Anyways, I think there's a few things that impact what happens after a token unlock that this article and the general narrative surrounding AVAX really hasn't encompassed the way that I think about it anyways. And the first one is market conditions. So when you're in a rising market, the beginning portions of a bull, I mean, most things, just due to some momentum and general macro market movements, will go up in value. Generally speaking. And so, I mean, we're at that point in the market where, like, dumping right now seems strange. Any real asset that you believe has a future. What I like about Avalanche and the way their token unlocks have happened. So I've actually been a critic of this quarterly unlock. We did monthly unlocks at Benki, and since then have done linear unlocks, because this whole hype and narrative and crap around token unlocks was a real thing. It was a real thing for AVAX. It was a real thing for Benki. And so I'm just not sure if that's even the way to go forward. But let's assume that there's some reason you want to do quarterly unlocks. Avalanche is a good case study in the unlocks generally can be bullish if there's if the underlying business is performing also, right? So there's macro conditions, bull market, bear market, and then there's, well, how frequent are the token unlocks? And then what is the project actually doing? And Avalanche, I think, has announced, maybe strategically, I don't know, some fairly massive partnerships that are coming up, and some really interesting use cases that I don't think we've seen on any networks before. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one. I don't really know what's going to happen. I'd be surprised if it dumped like crazy, given what I've just said, macro market and just the trajectory of Avalanche. My only advice here is just be careful, because it's impossible to predict what's going to happen. And generally speaking, when we all think it's a bullish market environment, there's a lot of good stuff going on for AVAX, that's when it dumps after the unlock. So nobody knows. Be careful. Please don't use leverage. Again, if I could give any recommendation to anybody, the best way to invest your assets in any market is to do so very objectively and very strategically. Don't try to chase gains. Don't try to over leverage. Slowly put your money in when you think things are in a lower position in value, and slowly take your money out when you think you've captured a lot of the gains. That's really the most consistently productive and profitable way to approach this. But what we all do, myself included, is, oh shit, there's a new meme token on this chain. I'm going to throw whatever, 50 grand into it.
Yeah.
Pardon? Like that also completely blows your risk management out of the water.
Okay, but with Avalanche in particular, they now have all of these big partners, which also makes a token dump just way less likely, because people have invested in it for their large business with the multiple utilities. So it's not just the tokens, but it's also their file management structure. The latest in that is Citi. So the global banking giant has embarked on a pioneering venture with Avalanche, utilizing its blockchain technology for a tokenization pilot aimed at private funds. Collaborating with Wellington Management and Wisdom Tree, Citi explored the potential of Avalanche's smart contract capabilities to introduce new functionalities and operational efficiencies within the private markets. Traditionally marked by complex and manual processes, the tokenization of private assets on Avalanche's platform could revolutionize the way assets are managed and transferred, promising a more streamlined and efficient system. This initiative places Citi alongside JP Morgan, Deloitte as one of the major institutions to leverage Avalanche's blockchain for enhancing financial operations, in this case, private funds.
Yeah, so I mean, this is cool, obviously. We've all been talking about, when TradFi. We're starting to see it. We saw it, obviously, with BlackRock and many others in the ETF space. Now we're seeing it, again, continue to proliferate in the ETH ETF space. And I think we're seeing a lot of this. We've seen, the announcement over the last few years of Onyx, of Backed, which is the intercontinental exchange version of a crypto exchange. There's been kind of these little testing the waters, and this is generally what happens. I mean, someone like Citibank can't just come in and launch a blockchain and call it a day and go for it, right? And they also can't just blanket give their users access to all these different chains. So they're saying, okay, because we have like a massive regulatory burden, because they're a chartered bank in the United States, they have to be slow. There's a lot of compliance. There's a lot of, regulatory burden on them before they can do something new. So I think this is just, okay, let's take something that's kind of small, that's not a huge exposure of our business, and an area that we could really use the efficiency of permissionless or quasi-permissionless or composable products. So anyways, all of this to say, I think this is really exciting. This isn't saying Citibank is going to be the pioneer and they're going to launch a blockchain on Avalanche and they're going to do all this other crap. No, but this is what we expect to see as incumbents start to try to figure out, okay, crypto's not going anywhere. How do we participate? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of uncertainty as to how that will work. Will Citi just connect to DeFi apps, or will Citi create its own permissioned structure, ecosystem, application, front end? I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see how that all rolls out. But this is really cool. They've cited in a lot of the press releases the Spruce and Evergreen tooling, which is kind of Avalanche's institutional tooling structure, sandbox, so to speak. It's some infrastructure pieces, Lego blocks, and then a test net, essentially. And so it's a really good venue for this to happen. They can play on a test net. yeah, it's pretty exciting. They can probably influence changes to some of the functionality on the subnet and different things to test out.
Well, as they've said in the article, the smart contract capabilities will just make these things that are previously manual processes so efficient. To me, it's wild that they are manual processes still in 2024 anyways. So I'm glad to see that. But in relation to the Avalanche token and the massive unlock, Avalanche has so many big name partners now, JP Morgan, Deloitte, now Citi. There are more, obviously. I just don't think that we're going to see that strange token fluctuation that we typically see.
We might be seeing it be slightly priced in now too. It's down about 3% in the last 24 hours. Why? No one really knows. Probably could make an argument that some people are just getting out before the unlock happens because they're worried about it. I don't know. All right. So this is kind of cool.
Where you might see more volatility though is Trader Joe.
So Trader Joe, good friends with the Trader Joe crew. They've done a lot for Avalanche DeFi, and they've been around essentially since we started Benki. We all kind of started at the same time. So it's been cool. It's been cool seeing them go from like fully anon degen decks to proper decks to proper novel technology with their order book, and then they made the NFT marketplace, JPEGs, and they did some like incubation for NFTs. They've done a lot of really cool stuff. And so here is something else that's kind of interesting. At first, when I first read about this, I was like, meh, I don't know if I really care about this whole shoe concept. What I do love about it, though, and something that I am very interested in.
Introduce the shoe concept. What are you talking about?
I'm going to explain it in a second. Jeez. But what I'm really excited about is the ERC 404. Anyways, okay, just setting this one up. Trader Joe Decentralized Exchange has introduced an experimental token named Shoe based on this novel 404 standard, which merges the functionalities of fungible and non-fungible tokens. It has a limited supply of 19,404, and it was distributed among active users of JPEG's marketplace and holders of NFT projects from Joe Studios Accelerator. Despite its launch, Trader Joe has stated it will not support the asset, which is purportedly without inherent value. The token's debut has sparked interest due to its unique standard, reminiscent of ERC 404's success, which saw significant trading volumes and substantial price increase for related assets. So they're using DN-404, which is kind of an evolution on ERC 404.
So did they launch the meme coin? Did they launch the most advanced meme coin ever? No inherent value, partially related to NFTs, on its own sort of fork. They just went for a full meme, which I mean is in line with the brand. That's not off-putting to me.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it, because just issuing the 404 doesn't necessarily take advantage of the 404's functionality. Are you familiar with 404 and what it does? Maybe.
A bit. I mean, I've been reading about it. It's not like I've created a 404 token though.
Yeah. Well, so it's pretty new and pretty exciting. So something that we've been talking about a lot in the space over the last bunch of years is fractionalizing things. Yeah. Right. So you could have one house, but one person owns a whole bunch of, or a fractional portion. Each person owns a fractional portion of the house, as an example. The problem lies in how do you get anything done with a whole bunch of potentially unknown to each other, other investors in the product. And so what 404 does is it creates an NFT standard that can then be fractionalized and represented by normal tokens. So like normal fungible tokens. Yep. And so then there's a marketplace for that you can create marketplaces for those fractional assets. There's just a whole bunch of things that you can do that makes it incredibly efficient. Another thing that 404 standard is really exciting for, in my opinion, is tranching risk. So there's some really interesting applications. I'm not going to go too deep into it today, but some really smart people are working on some really cool applications of this. So excited to see what happens. Trader Joe, again, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have expected them to come out with something novel on top of this initial announcement that got some marketing hype. But I do
have to add that they did immediately fractionalize the asset. I don't think that we covered that in the summary, but so the 19,404 tokens were actually distributed among 22,140 wallets. So everyone got a fractional component
of one
of one, which I think is really interesting because they're basically forcing the use case of ERC-404, but then saying, hey, we don't have any real inherent value here, but it does give people a platform to play.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what every new test product is. We don't think it's going to have value. It's just an experiment. We don't plan on supporting it, A, because we don't understand from a regulatory perspective if we're in hot water. We also don't understand if it's going to work, et cetera, et cetera. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does pick up some fanfare, which clearly it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually started adding more functionality onto it. It'd be cool. Really
Trader
cool.
Joe doesn't have only good news, though. This one's pretty brief, but I've been waiting for it. So in 2023, Trader Joe, the grocery chain, actually started a lawsuit in California against the Trader Joe DEX and the co-founder himself, saying that he had malintent for trademark infringement. So the lawsuit basically alleges that the crypto platform intentionally mimics the supermarket's name and branding, including use of a similar logo and character in a red cap, a color strongly associated with the Trader Joe's grocery brand. This dispute extends to the crypto firm's domain name, its presence on various digital platforms. Basically, Trader Joe, the grocery store, is accusing Trader Joe, the DEX, of leveraging its established brand for commercial gain without permission, seeking legal remedies, including cessation of the name's use in crypto operations, domain ownership, and unspecified damages, which... yeah, I think that's why they called themselves Trader Joe.
So America's nice and litigious. People you can sue for anything in America, pretty much. Doesn't mean you're going to win. This has kind of been like a weird bubbling narrative since like day one of Trader Joe. Like it was a nothing burger until it became something. And then all of a sudden everybody's going, holy crap, this joke almost, or meme, turned into something. And then all of a sudden they raised money and they have venture partners and they, anyways, we've all kind of been wondering, like, is that going to be a problem with a major retailer? I mean, there's a lot of brands in crypto that are eerily similar to brands elsewhere. So we'll have to see. I don't know if they're going to win this one, but have you been to Trader Joe's?
Yeah.
So I had never been until just recently. And everybody's always talking, Trader Joe's. And there's like none here. Well, there's some, but they're not like Publix or something that's on every freaking street. And so Trader Joe's is like Costco, but for like proprietary, healthy, organic, fucking crazy.
So not what the DEX does.
So not at all what the DEX does. All of that to say, the reason I'm telling you this long story is because they do have a very distinct brand in America. Trader Joe is like nothing else. There's nothing else like Trader Joe's that you can compare it to. And so I can see why they'd be protectionist of their brand. Of course, I get it. I'm not entirely certain that any reasonable human being that saw Trader Joe, the DEX, would think that it's a subsidiary or at all related to the grocery chain.
Well, not degens, but maybe the average Joe. Hey-o. Okay. So this happened in 2023. Let's talk about something that's going to happen coming up right away.
Yeah. Stinking excited about this one, to be honest. I'll set it up here quickly. The Uniswap Foundation has announced the tentative launch date for Uniswap v4, aligning with the post-Degen upgrade expected in Q3 2024. So this upgrade is obviously interesting because it does a lot to create greater efficiencies for layer 2s and many other things. Are you excited for v4, or like what are your thoughts on this? Is it going to be a big enough difference that that you're gonna get excited about it?
Okay, well, this one's a little bit odd because they're also doing backward compatibility for v2. And so while I think that v4 is probably important, and I'm happy to see that it was successful on the testnet, and we're probably going to have reduced gas. We're going to have that reduced gas anyway from the Degen upgrade, so I'm not sure about that. The thing that people are really upset about for Uniswap v4, though, is the hooks. They think that that is going to act almost like a Play Store or the Apple App Store, and they're going to you won't be able to build as freely on Uniswap as you previously were able to. So, is it a substantial upgrade? Yes. Is it a substantial upgrade that I'm looking forward to? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that it's worth noting here. Uniswap obviously was a pioneer of swapping in the space, on-chain dexes, obviously. AMMs was, I'll use the word revolutionary, but it's not directly applicable, obviously. But anyways, since then, a lot of their IP and their brand value has been siphoned off by others. They've been forked a million times on every ecosystem, quicker than they can even launch on most ecosystems, which is why they, on V3, didn't issue it with an MIT license until a year. So they had a head start. And then the day that V3 license changed to MIT, everybody deployed V3 everywhere. And so Uniswap was actually trying to deploy V3 prior to that, like a month prior to that, everywhere, so that people wouldn't do that. Anyways, these hooks, in my opinion, are just another step in maintaining at least awareness and probably capture of some of that value that's getting siphoned off. So if I implicate the Uniswap router into my smart contracts, Uniswap, it's no difference to them. But there's a lot of revenue that I could be capturing based off of primarily their technology. So I do understand where there's like, okay, you can build on top of us, but maybe there's going to be some like revenue sharing or so on and so forth.
Oh, I appreciate that from a business perspective. I just don't like it as a degen.
As a user, of course, you're not thinking too deeply about that. You don't really care. All that means is that maybe they're optimizing for someone other than me. Do I care?
Okay, we have been talking about the Denkin upgrade quite a lot, but we haven't talked about the Solana upgrade. So Solana and Filecoin have announced a strategic partnership aimed at enhancing data scalability and accessibility. This collab leverages Filecoin's decentralized storage capabilities to improve Solana's block history accessibility, aiming to bolster infrastructure reliability. People have mixed feelings. Filecoin's token experienced a surge, but Sol saw a decline. So I don't know. How do you feel about it? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad?
I mean, I think it's good for Filecoin because it's a big name partner, and I think a really direct and notable use case for what Filecoin is doing. So one of the challenges with Solana is running a validator requires many terabytes of storage if you're gonna index the chain and have historical data, which means that it's prohibitively expensive for even many institutional players or enterprise partners. So Solana has very little tooling relative to many other chains, especially for the amount of time it's been there, because it's very difficult to run nodes and to get data and to do all these different things. It's very expensive. And so this is a win-win for both. It's a big, notable partnership for Filecoin, which was needed. And it's, a potential solution for one of the biggest problems that Solana has faced since its inception, really, is validators, not enough performance on the validators, et cetera, tons of downtime on the chain and all these other things. But I do think it's cool. I do think Filecoin is a great solution for this type of thing. This decentralized storage, decentralized compute, decentralized AI, like all of these things eventually I think will have really good applicability later on, because the cost is way less. It's on-demand access and many different things. It's really cool. So I think all in all, this is pretty good. Filecoin has not missed out on a lot of negative narratives, though. I mean, when Filecoin, I don't know if you remember, when Filecoin first launched and when ICP first launched, kind of similar time periods, there was a whole ICP effectively dumped all their tokens, or somebody did. And Filecoin had some issues at first too. They had still have incredible inflation in many ways. So it's interesting. It's an interesting partnership. I think it really will bolster what Filecoin is best at, and really highlight what Filecoin is capable of. So if it's successful, it'll be good for both. If not, back to the drawing board. But
I feel like I can't really add anything. I always love new partnerships in this space, but there's nothing to do but wait and see how this one goes. Let's end on one final partnership, maybe.
Oh crap, we're out of time already.
Yeah, but we got to do this one. It's a big deal.
Okay, fine. Hold on. All right. So XRP, which is in the news all the time lately, and for good reason, I suppose. The Digital Currency Association associated with Ripple, Digital Currency associated with Ripple Labs is poised to integrate with Flare, enhancing its functionality and interoperability within the blockchain ecosystem. Flare Network CEO Hugo Fillion announced the integration would utilize the XRP asset through the layer cake protocol, facilitating XRP's interaction with other protocols beyond Flare. This move aims to bolster developer support and integration and innovation within the Oracle network, competing with Chainlink and the Graph. The integration marks a significant step in the collaboration between XRP and Flare networks, promising new possibilities for decentralized applications and reinforcing the dynamic nature of the blockchain landscape. That was a very big mouthful. Do you want to summarize that for us?
That was great. So what you should know is that if you've been participating, you might be able to get XRP on Flare. It keeps getting taken down, all of the mediums and all of the tweets that I can find about it. But they're going to do an XRP airdrop on Flare. And so this isn't exactly a secret, but Flare wants to be in control of that narrative. So when you see some of the articles, if you're mid-reading an article and it gets taken down, it's not that it's untrue. It's that Flare wants to be the sole speaker about that, because they don't want there to be any misunderstanding about what's going on. That's why I wanted to talk about it so bad, is that Flare, XRP, airdrop, it's real. It's happening. Don't be misled. Be careful.
I like it. For those degens among us, what's really cool about Flare, if you're not familiar with Flare as an ecosystem, they've been highly aligned with XRP since day one. I think every XRP holder holds Flare. There was some serious airdrops and a lot of ways to engage, those existing but somewhat siloed communities, XRP being one of them. So one of Flare's big propositions is to do what they're calling F assets. And they have a unique decentralized bridging mechanism via layer cake that does this in a very secure, decentralized way. So in effect, it's kind of like wrapping and bridging, sort of. Mm-hmm. It'd be like wrapping XRP, which you can't do, but let's assume you could, from main chain, and then bridge it, which you currently can't do, as far as I'm aware. This actually allows that. It'll lock your XRP on XRP, and then issue FXRP on Flare that you can use then, kind of like a liquid staking asset. It's almost like liquid staking without the yield, in a sense, because you want to maintain your exposure to the original asset, and you want to still keep that equity, but then you might want to deploy it into other strategies, into DeFi, so on and so forth. There's a lot of potential TAM there. I think it's really cool. There's a lot of assets. XRP, EOS, NEO, like all these Bitcoin Cash. There's a whole bunch that are in the top 20, 30 of market cap, but don't really have a heck of a lot of things those people can do with the assets. All of a sudden, we might just have a lot of options for those assets. So pretty exciting. If you're not familiar with Flare, check it out. But yeah, okay. So new system, new structure.
Learn about gamifying your fitness and Moonwalk, I'm gonna smash it on Twitter. And if you really want to be stoked about ETH being past 3K, we can also chat about that. We'll also be joining the degen roundtable guys tonight at 8 p.m. EST. So watch for us on other streams. JD, do you have any other AMAs coming up?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, I was like, that seems like an easy pitch.
None that I can remember off the top of my head, of course, but I'm sure I've got stuff. Follow my Twitter. It almost always gets posted on my Twitter if I'm going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, new structure today. Hopefully y'all liked it. Leave us a comment, send us a note. If you didn't like it, also leave us a comment, send us a note, please, so that
we need to know.
Yeah, because we don't want to do something that's not landing with you guys. Yeah, I think that's it. With that, today, Kiara, go find yourself.
Find yourself.
Later.